live. And we're definitely live. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you heard me going, are we live? Are we live? Okay, it's time to start the show. It's early, but hey, let's kick it off and I'll explain everything in just a quick moment. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Mark Goldberg, and this is Mark Vlogs Watches Rebelstream number 7, Rebelstream. Remember, I don't get mad. I get even. I get kicked off of Archie once. I've pledged to Rebelstream with you 100 times in revenge. Another way to look at it is, it's not about the passion. It's not about the money. It's about the revenge. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. So let me kind of lay out for you what's happening here. But first, I should introduce the concept of a new cocktail. Also, where's my watch? Don't move. I gotta find. There we go. I will. So I took off the watch for a moment, so I have to make sure that I put it back on for the quick fist watch check. So, guys, this is sorry. You know what? That's Jupiter, and Jupiter was cranky. He was irascible, much like the rancher, and so you know, I love it. But okay, so you can see here, it's a clear drink. It's got an orange slice in it, a little cloudy, got ice. What happened was I ran out of everything for the Negroni except for gin. I got the gin, and the gin is in that. So what is it? I just grabbed random stuff, you know, from the liquor cabinet. You know what? Turned out okay. So let me tell you what's in that thing. Then I'll tell you what I call it. It's got 2 parts gin, 1 part Cointreau, which is an orange liqueur. And it's mixed with a flavored soda water and squeezed with a slice of orange. So it's relatively potent. And I call it the Minotaur because if you drink too many, you're going to get a horn. You're going to get gored. Okay. So this is a Minotaur. It's 2 parts gin, 1 part Cointreau, and then fill your glass up with some flavored seltzer water, squeeze an orange. And it's nice. It's not a Negroni, but it's a bit more summery than a Negroni is. Okay, so I will be saying hello to the fellas who are, you know, jumping into the room here. I know we're, you know, like about an hour, running about an hour earlier than usual. I'll say it qualifies as a Rebelstream anyway. Rebelstream. Don't get mad. Get even. Join me. Join the alliance by spending time with me here. Remember, this is the live stream where your super chats are not obligatory, but they are actually appreciated. And every time you super chat, a Minotaur loses a horn. Okay. So what's happening is I'm an hour early because in about an hour I got stuff that I got to do. I have obligations, things happening. What's going on in my life? So I'm writing a new book. With my partners, my cohorts, my co-authors, my partners in crime, and so we got a new book coming out, and we're like, books are funny, guys. You know, you get the assignment, you get the money, and then you sit and they don't want anything for like a year, so you tend to procrastinate and wait. I got a year to do this, and then one day you wake up and you realize, holy crap, you know, I got a book due September 15th. You know, and here we are, August 26th. So we've gotten a lot done. I'm really happy with this book. I can't wait till I can talk to you about it. And I can't, but I can talk to you about this one. Oh gosh, like, you know, this is irritating, but at least you're not seeing my, you know, my living room right now. The Art of Training Your Dog, available globally, electronically, and also available by paperback and hardcover. If you're not a dog lover, that's okay. Support the channel and buy it for the dog lover in your life. But it'll help you train your dog for sure. That's good. So I've been working like crazy on this book, and but you know, I'm doing a little bit better with the YouTubes. I've ignored YouTube for a fairly long time. Then what happened is I started going back on Archie, which was a lot like falling off the wagon. I mean, I had been cured, and then I took that one drink. Speaking of which, let me do that now. I took that one drink and I was sucked right back in. It was just like not Paulie, one of the guys on The Sopranos. Every time, doing his Godfather imitation, every time I get out, they suck me back in again. And that's kind of what happened there. But tonight we are not going to be talking about complaints. We are going to Rebelstream and chit chat about your watch talk, your questions, what's going on in your collection and in your world. Like I said, I've been hard at work on a book, but I'm like finally getting there. Also, I'm starting to do short focused videos again, and I have figured out a way to do them without a whole lot of editing, which saves me a lot of time. And that means like I can kind of get them out there for you on the tubes. And let me tell you how I'm doing it. I am doing that by taking questions. You see the banner right here. Instagram, my Instagram is right there, Chicago_dog_trainer. So you want to follow me there. If you don't follow me, when you DM me your question, it won't come through, or it'll come through, but I won't see it. So go ahead and follow me on Instagram, and then you can DM me your questions. And if I get a chance, I will answer you by DM, but more than likely, you'll have to wait until you see a video. But I will make a video about the more interesting and more generally applicable questions. Okay, guys. So just follow me over there on the Instagram and send me your questions that way. All right, let's see what's going on here. Valen Greymoon was first. Fist. Respectos, Valen, as always. You didn't join us yesterday, Valen, and I got a little bit worried. I was going to send EMS to your house if you weren't here today, but here we are. Perth Luxury says, howdy. An unpronounceable Greek name is asking me about, that's the Hulk, that the Stephanopoulos. Mr. Unpronounceable Greek, thank you for being with us today. It's Greek to me, but I do know that reference number, and that is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Hulk, the LV? Or is it the Sprite? I'm confused. I don't know. Someone tell me what the hell that is, and then I'll give you an opinion. Show enough, Mark is a legend for this revenge. Guys, you can only kick me off of Archie one time. But it was such a good thing. Listen, I hope you all realize this is in good fun. I am not mad. I am not hateful. I am not spiteful. Only a little bit, only a little bit. But mostly what we have here is a good group of guys, you people, and some fun. And Archie's a bad habit. If you watch him, then God bless you. I can't personally stand it, and I never really could. I would just drop in to be on the stream, to help him out. But once that was sort of like became a bad idea, it turned out to be a better idea to spend my time with you guys. And I am enjoying that. So Raj, thank you for being with us. Geezer, the horological Jeff Goldblum. Sounds like that would be me. Webble What do I look like? Jeff Goldblum? Do I sound? What's with the Goldberg Goldblum? Is that what it is? So listen, I'm happy to give you an opinion, but I don't know my reference numbers to the point where I can say which one that is. But what I think is it's a steel bezel, discontinued Daytona, and my opinion would be they didn't make a bad Daytona. Foolishly, I sold one of those. Of course, I'm going to have to, quote Blue Shirt Buddha, your friend and mine. Well, yet once again, never sell Rolex, never sell Rolex, never sell Rolex. Do you know what I sold my steel bezel Daytona for, fellas? $8,000, which was fairly kind of well market at the time. And I don't know what they are like right now today, but I know that before the correction started, they were down to they were up to like 28. 30, 20, somewhere between 25 and 30. And I sold mine off for 8. But I got the Panda from James & Sons in Orland Park, Illinois, and that healed the gaping wound in my heart. Brian, you have no idea what you did for me over there by putting me on your wait list for years and then getting me with that watch, guys. It healed the wound in my heart because I I was kind of metza on that steel bezel Daytona because you couldn't tell where it started, you couldn't tell where it ended. Therefore, it wore really small, didn't have a lot of wrist presence. But that stark white dial on the current Panda with the black surrounds on the 3 sub dials, and then the black ceramic bezel, I mean, that does it for me. It just boom. It's a 40 millimeter watch that wears like a 39, 38, but that has an awful lot of wrist presence just due to its, color configuration in the bezel. So that's what I like. Wilmer, hello from Belfast, Ireland. Thank you for joining us from Ireland. Thurston Howell III is a Marianne dude. Good evening and hello to you. And same to you, Ed. Call it the Jupiter. No, calling this drink the Minotaur because it has a kick, and it'll it'll gore you if you have too many of them. It's a lot of gin, some Cointreau, and some sody. It is not bad. Corrado says notification work. Well, I'm glad that you're with us. And that reminds me, fellas, hit the like button. I'm going to start getting into your, more intelligent Rolex questions as you give them, as you feed them to me. But it does give me the moment to remind you, hit the like button, sub me so I can see you again. And most important of all, I know notifications are a pain in the ass, and I never really ask for that because I figured you'll come across my videos when they go up. But with the live stream kind of, now Rebelstream, I mean, this is only Rebelstream number 7 out of 100. We have 93 Rebelstreams to go, you and me. And we're going to do this together. We'll get through it. We are fighting the Death Star and Jabba. Yeah, we're taking Jabba down, guys. Why? Because every super chat a Minotaur loses a horn. Okay. That's my oven going off. So, but what I want you to do is hit the notifications because these Rebelstreams come and go. The time might change a little. And this way you will know when to find me. What is your opinion on large spending at the AD to get the hot models versus just getting them from the gray market? Very good question. A good AD is not going to demand that you buy stuff to just qualify for the chance to buy something else. So the best AD, I feel, is going to just legitimately tell you whether you have a shot, and if you do, how long it's going to take. I've spoken endlessly about how to build the AD relationship with trust. They're especially the hardest Rolex to buy is the first one because they need to know that you're not going to flip their watch. Speaking of watches, quick fist watch check. It is the Omega laser cut dial in black. Got the white one upstairs. So the first one is hard to get, but let's put it like this: there are different tiers of ADs. The best AD is going to be straight up with you once you form a relationship. That's where I prefer to shop, and where I think you should too. Then there's another AD who's not as good, and that AD will say, hey, you need to buy $15,000 in blah, blah, blah. And then I can get you that Submariner date that you've been asking me about. And I feel like, okay, at least I have like a firm, you do this and I'll do that. I don't love that, but at least it's more straightforward than some of what I have heard, which is, hey, let me wet my beak. You let me get my beak wet. You take care of me. One hand washes the other, my friend. You scratch my back, I'm going to scratch your back. My son Michael, anything happens to my son Michael, I will break the peace. Let me get my beak wet approach to watch sales is like, mafioso. I don't like it. And the reason is it's indefinite. Like you could spend all kinds of money. I'm like disappearing into Jupiter's face. You could spend all kinds of money with the AD and never really have a clear idea of like when it's over, like what is the deal, exactly. So I would want specificity. And if I was going to have to spend a bunch of money at the AD in order to qualify for a watch buy, I would run the numbers on that. And here's what I mean. Were you the kind of guy who was going to go spend over the next year or two, 10, 15, $20,000 in tchotchkes at a jeweler anyway? For example, you're engaged, you didn't buy the ring yet, but I'm going to blow 10 grand on that ring. That's just what I'm going to do for my, for my beloved. Well, I'm not a jeweler, but I'm pretty sure that diamond engagement rings are a reasonable margin. So I do think you could say, hey, I got to buy this ring anyway, but I really like watches for me. So I think you could work that out if you were going to do it anyway. But if you're like not normally a jewelry buyer, then I would say, no, don't do it. So let's say you wanted to buy a GMT and the jeweler says, I'll say the GMT, it's like I don't know exactly, but I'm going to call it like a $12,000 watch. But I need you to spend 15 to get that. Well, we add the 15 and the 12, and let me do my gazintas. We got $28,000, right? 27. I mean, I think you could find it for that on the gray market and not wait and not wonder and not be stuck with a bunch of tchotchkes. Now, if you say, hey, look, no, I've run the numbers and I'd rather have those gold earrings, for my girlfriend, I'd rather have that pinky ring, that diamond pinky ring for me. Okay, cool. But so that is a very long answer that I've given you. And the answer, so the reality is it comes down to, it depends, on the deal. I look like Al Pacino. I'm not too sure about that. 12 months from now, I will be buying the new Rolex at retail. Gray Margaret Rolex below retail. My prediction, I'm sticking to it. Oh yeah, we'll be in a depression also. Well, I believe you've been drinking more than me, Ed. So let me try and make sense of that. It says Gray Margaret Rolex, but I think you meant Gray Market Rolex. 12 months from now, I will be buying new Rolex at retail, meaning you think you'll be able to go into the AD and buy it at retail. That would be super nice. Well, actually, supposedly you can. Or maybe you'd be saying you'd be getting gray market below retail. Guys, that's the way it was. Ed, I apologize for calling you drunk because, what you're describing was more or less, depending on the watch. The situation, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could go into the AD and buy a whole lot of different watches. There were always a couple really difficult to get ones, and those included the Daytona. That being said, 15 years ago, oh my God, they were offering discounts on the Daytona. Nobody wanted them. Maybe 20 years ago. So that's possible. I don't know about the depression. Let's just say I hope not. But if you're right, Ed, about at least about the Rolex pricing, I personally will think that's a good thing. I have a collection of watches in Rolex, but I don't consider it a portfolio. So if its value falls, I didn't so much build it into my net worth to the point where it would disturb me anyway. It doesn't especially bother me. Remember, your super chats are not required, but I will appreciate them. Negroni check. Yeah, well, I'm drinking a drink of my own invention called the Minotaur. It's highly alcoholic, a little bit bitter, and it'll gore you if you're not careful. Fist watch check is the Omega. So sure enough, saying the reference is a new Starbucks. Now the Cermet. Well, I mean, I like that watch. I want one. I haven't really succeeded in getting one yet out of my AD. But the question becomes, how many watches will your AD put you in for at once? Now there are some ADs, who say, look, you like these 4 watches? Great. I'll call you whichever of the 4 I get for you first that's available. My AD is not so much like that. They're more like, give me your pick. We'll get you that pick. We don't know how long it'll take, but once we've done that, then we'll talk about the next thing. which is a very measured, logical approach to the game. And I appreciate that because it keeps me grounded and centered, and it keeps me from going, I want this and this and this. It keeps me a little bit measured and grounded. But in other words, my AD in the discussion about what it is that, they should source for me acts like an adult versus my child, and I need adult supervision when it comes to watches, especially expensive ones. So I appreciate the way my AD will tap the brakes for me, So let me just say, I think that the Starbucks, I would really rather buy it at retail. But if you have no history with an AD, getting a Starbucks as a first entry-level watch from an AD to establish buying history, you might as well buy it. You might as well buy a gray market. I hate to say that, but that's kind of the scenario, at least right now. And you can take comfort in the fact that the market is somewhat down. And not somewhat down, it's measurably down. And so you'll be buying it quite a bit cheaper than you would have 6 months ago. So that's not a bad thing. My AD told me, don't buy secondary. She'll get me my Grail Oyster Flex Daytona yellow gold with Pullman dial. Very excited. It's beautiful. And I see it's your avatar, Recon. That's gorgeous. I love that watch. It's one of my favorite ones. I think really for me to find something that I like better than that exact one, I would have to go to the Meteorite or the Platona or the Rainbow, in that order of, crazy. But that one is super high on the, oh my God, amazing list. So that's wonderful that she said, don't buy it, and then it was really good that she told you that. I don't know if you're going to have to sit around for 6 months or a year or 2 years, but usually when they tell you like what she told you, we're generalizing here because all ADs are different, but normally if you have any kind of relationship and that's what they tell you, they mean it. So that's extremely exciting for you. Bruce, the background, it does do me a favor. That is my kitty cat. That's Jupiter. Old OG members of this channel will know who Jupiter was. He was frequently appeared on this channel. He was a very irritable cat, and he always looked, upset and mad, as you can kind of see in his look there. And I feel like it's the perfect avatar background for Rebelstreaming, because I'm Rebelstreaming against somebody who is also extremely irritable. Mark, what are your thoughts? Oh, Amit Ashok, what are your thoughts on the IWC Top Gun Lake Tahoe? 1,000 pieces, being offered one. Have a Rolex, want to get something different. I don't know the line well, so I will take a quick look, but I am telling you it is unlikely that I am going to be especially impressed. Give me a minute. Let me look it up. I will show you guys what it turns out to be. IWC. And I want to talk about this IWC versus Rolex. IWC Top Gun. It looks like all the other IWCs. If you ask me, give me a minute. I'll make it large. Give me a second, guys. Sorry. There you go. It looks like all the other IWCs. Let me see what it costs. Well, let's see if it'll tell me. Man, it's $8,500. So what do I think? No, I don't want to buy an IWC for $8,500. Maybe a pilot's watch or a Flieger, for less than half of that, if I could find that, and a desperate collector, bailing out of it. But no, I don't want to spend Submariner money. Don't get me wrong. I know it's a chronograph, so it's got a complication. They just don't hold value terribly well. And what you said is you have a few Rolex. Well, which ones do you have? So that we could pick you out something that is at least as good as what you already have, but different. Guys, here's the problem. When you're wearing a watch that's not Rolex, you can go above Rolex into Vacheron, at Constantin, Patek Philippe, Aldemar, Piguet, Jaeger LeCoultre. those watches feel good on the wrist, okay? But you start going tiers below Rolex and you can feel the difference. Now, I gotta say, I like this watch a whole lot, the Omega Seamaster, and it's close to the quality feel of a Rolex, but it's not quite there either. The bracelet is a little sharp, a little hot spot. The fit and finish of the bracelet to the watch head is like, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. It's just not Rolex good. Underneath, it's good. You know, like where it all meets, you know, underneath, it's good. It's just not Rolex good. But it's close. It's super, super close. But you start getting tiers below Rolex, and it doesn't feel like a Rolex. But you're spending Rolex money, you know, for it. So no, don't do it. I'm against it. Why are there very few SD43s available for sale on eBay? Well, maybe people don't want to take the loss. You know, I'm sure there's a number of them on Chrono. I think a lot of investors, aka carpetbagging collectors, are afraid, like me. I mean, I like mine. All right, so there's that. But and it's not a super common watch. People prefer the Submariner. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. It's got a red line on there. Sorry, got a face bubble. If it's got a red line on there, and if at some point soon Rolex takes that red line off and makes it white, it's going to be the red line Sea Dweller. You know, they put it on there for the anniversary, and everyone's waiting to see, you know, how many years it'll last, 5, 6, 7, 10, maybe, and then gone. And then so we're all afraid to sell them. I'm keeping mine. We have a super chat, and remember, every time you super chat, a Minotaur loses a horn. It's not about the money, guys. It's about the revenge. Raj, thank you so much. In the UK, my AD said no more than 3 watch requests per year. And for some models, GMT, Daytona, and Sub, they've closed the book for all clients as they already have too many registers of interest. Okay, so here's the thing. I believe you, and that sounds logical and reasonable to me. At the same time, every AD is different, unless you're talking about an AD like Watches of Switzerland, or, you know, a Torno, a chain, where one corporation owns like 20, 30 different locations. But every AD is different, and they all have different policies. Now, a lot of ADs will tell you, Rolex told us this is what we have to do because Rolex said. And 9 times out of 10, that's bogus, okay? Here are bogus Rolex AD claims. In the UK, Rolex told us that we have to hold the box and papers for 1 year. Nah, one AD did it, and then they all said, ooh, good idea, and then they all did it. Rolex told us that we can't sell more than 1 watch per customer. Bzzz, that's not true. Rolex told us no more than 3 watch requests per year. Bzzz, also not true. That's a policy of your AD. But by the way, I think it's a pretty good policy. 3 is actually kind of generous because I know a reasonable number of ADs who won't sell more than 1 Rolex per customer per year because they want to make as many people happy as they can. And they can't do that if one guy is buying them all, you know? So there's that. And as far as them closing the book on the GMT, the Daytona, and the Sub, I believe that. But again, I believe that that's situational. In other words, that's just your AD. Here's what we know. Not in that order, but those are the 3 most difficult to come by models that Rolex makes. The most difficult would be the Daytona. The second most difficult would be the GMT. And these are in any iteration, really. And then the Submariner. So you start getting into the OP41s and below, meaning OP41, OP36, and the other sizes of the OP. Not easy to get, but certainly easier than any of those 3. Explorer, any of the Explorers, Yachtmasters, you know, all easier to get. We should probably put the Sky Dweller in that category with the Daytona and the GMT and the Sub. It's just that I feel the market for the Sky Dweller is smaller. There are fewer guys going for the fewer guys going for it. So, but anyway, I'm with you, Raj. I feel like they're being pretty reasonable about it. The only disappointing thing is, what if you're like a huge customer of that AD? If you're like a really good customer of that AD on like other than watches, not only watches, but like stuff. My best bet is you want a Daytona, they'll get you a Daytona. You're in there spending $100,000, on a bunch of stuff for your wife, your mother, your mother-in-law, and all like that, your girlfriend, your mistress, etc. Put the request in for the AD. If you're just a watch buyer, get in line. Okay. Meet, you were asking about that IWC. We already have the Pepsi, the Black Daytona, the sub date, the no date. Wow, so you got 2 subs. You got a Millie, you got an Air King, you got the SD43, the Explorer, and the Explorer 2. That's a nice collection. It is. But I still say I don't want to see you spend $8,500 on an IWC chronograph. I just don't love the idea. I mean, so the issue is like, what could you do instead? I mean, there are a number of JLCs, that you could find for that money. You could get more horology in a Girard-Perregaux. If you look around, you could get, for like $5-6 grand, you can find a Girard-Perregaux with more horology than that IWC and a more interesting dial. Sorry, buddy, I'm still not in favor. All right, let me work my way back up, see where I left off. Hang tight, guys. Bear with. Is Grand Seiko too close to Rolex? No. It's. I think it's vastly different than Rolex. I've got only one Grand Seiko, and I have, not an especially popular one. I like dive watches, guys. I don't like dress watches, and I have the spring drive. The spring drive Grand Seiko diver with the Zaratsu polishing, which, by the way, I think is ridiculous. Zaratsu, it's all marketing. I mean, what Zaratsu polishing is it's a craftsman with a tin wheel, like basically hand polishing the sides. But honestly, it doesn't look to me any better than the probably machine polished sides, equally curved. Sorry guys, my Minotaur is kicking in. That's my Minotaur. I don't have a Negroni tonight. Have a Minotaur. Like, what do I do? I don't know how to. There we go. Sorry, it's a lot of gin and a few other things. So there's Zaratsu polishing. Anyway, I digress. It's nice. They're nice. It's not as good as a Rolex. It's where especially where, I mean, its movement is very cool. The spring drive movement, cool. But I feel that the bracelet and clasp on mine really falls short. Okay. So that's a big issue that I feel like you should be aware of. But they're dress watches with those carved, cool, multi-dimensional dials. Very nice. But you're starting to see those come out even on micro brands, not with as fine a detail, but I mean, pretty soon you're going to see a Borealis I've got a Phoebos that they sent me with a carved dial, that is all kinds of, sorry about that noise, guys, which is all kinds of, how to put it, dynamic, carved. It's that work is becoming more easily available in bulk by machine. So don't get me wrong. I like the Grand Seiko brand. I do. It's very nice. I just don't think it's Rolex. It's still Seiko. But it's grand, but it's not Rolex. Okay. What's going on here? Let me keep going. We've got a bunch of you guys talking to each other, which is great. I like to see you all enjoying the community. Peter Woodamong, will Rolex ever display their movements in the case backs? Every time I look at the case back of a Rolex, I laugh at how plain it is. Do you know that there are replacement case backs in sapphire? You actually, if you kind of like dig around, you can do it. It's kind of like a do-it-yourself job to take off your, Submariner case back, set it aside, and screw in, if I were to do that, I really would want to get it pressure tested to be sure, that it was safe. But you can do it. I wouldn't, and you certainly have to take it off before you send it back to the RSC for service or show your AD or anything like that, because it'll invalidate your warranty. But it exists. So if you really, really, really want to display case back, you can get it. The Omega has it, and this movement, I'm sure you can't tell, but it's got a, it's machine decorated, but it's a decorated movement. Rolex doesn't decorate any movement these days. So there's no perlage, there's no Côte de Genève, there's nothing. So they're super industrial. I mean, a Rolex, who's putting display backs on really super plain movements is the Seiko 5 Sports. So you can buy a $200 watch with a sapphire back, sapphire crystal display case, and you can see an NH36, on the back of that watch. It's, I think it's kind of cool, but it's not exciting. So you may laugh at how plain it is, but what really counts is what's on the other side of the watch, and it's the Corona and that word Rolex. That's the big deal. Domani says, Skydweller, I bet, is harder than the subs or the GMT. Probably, especially in steel. There's just not that many of them out there. But somebody asked me yesterday, what about the white one in steel? And my answer is and was, Rolex doesn't make a bad Skydweller. They're all amazing. And whatever one you can get is the one to buy. Your AD said you can get a Rolex every 4 months, no less than, not more frequently than that. Well, good on you. I want to be your friend. I mean, what you must know where your AD buried the bodies, because that's like that's incredibly good. I mean, but doesn't it go to show you guys the grass is always greener? Now, I'm razzing you a little bit, my POV, because I know you're not bitching and moaning and complaining about it. But if that's the worst thing that ever happens to you, is I can't get a Rolex more than every 4 months, and I want one every 2 months. Like, oh my God, listen, my AD likes me, but they got customers to service, they got heavy hitters to reward. They got normal business to conduct. So, and I'm not asking typically for easy watches. I'm on their wait list right now for a Sprite, which is, I'm sure they're going to get it for me, by the way. We just don't know when. These things take time. But I know it's not going to be, it's been well over 4 months since I asked for it. Guys, if I get it within a year, from today even, I'll be very, very happy. So if you can get a Rolex every 4 months, I don't think I could keep up the spending personally. But, cool, nice. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I think you sent a watch back to Breitling. I love Breitling. It's a little bit my bad habit. And so I have the Super Ocean 42. They literally just came out with a new one. I've got the 2-year-old one, and I like it a little better. Now, mind you, on this brand new Breitling, I like the fact that they've got ceramic bezels. I like the bracelet better. It's got the polished center links, and it's got like an adjustable clasp. Actually, they just use the same adjustable clasp pretty much. They must be getting it from Hong Kong. I think some of this stuff comes from China. I swear to God. But it's got the, let's see if I can make it work here. Yeah, it's got the same clasp as the Omega, more or less, with the 2 push button release, and then the button inside that says push. And then when you do that, hang on. I got all these banners and stuff in the way, and I'm watching myself on the camera, and it makes it hard. But anyway, there you go. You can see how much travel, that I get out of that, like quite a bit. So it's highly adjustable. It's very nice, and I'm jealous because my bracelet just has a friction closed clasp on it. But, other than that, I like mine better, especially for loom. I've got giant loomed Arabics, really awesome. 21 months now waiting for an SD43 from my AD with purchase history. I'm going to start over at another AD. I feel like that's too long. But it's not like you're starting over. I mean, you're not like cheating on your AD by going to talk to another one. So whatever it is that you have previous purchase history with, I'm going to make the following assumption, Scott. You kept it. And that you're occasionally visiting your actual, your current AD with that same watch that they sold you. Hey, take a look. I still got it. But otherwise, feel free to walk into another AD, but wearing that Rolex. And they will say, oh, where'd you get that? And then you tell them, I ain't cross town, but I'm on the list and I can't seem to get it out of them. And can you help me? I think that would be fine. On the other hand, if you sold it, it's like you shook the Etch-a-Sketch and you erased your buying history. That's my personal opinion on that one. Watches of Wall Street's at 3 Rolexes, trying to get another before the year is up. Well, you got the last quarter of the year. I hope that I will get a fun call by the end of the year myself. The Sprite. It's so weird. It's a weird watch. I find it, one of the things that I really find it cool, the coolest thing probably really is, left-hand drive naturally, but the green, it's the first, guys, green is the new blue. Green is the new blue. Blue became hot. I like blue, but green, like Hulk green, like the new green date, the new green Datejust. Green, and especially in Rolex, is the corporate color. Now, I know they're using a few different greens, but green on the Sprite, it's the first time that they've done green on a ceramic bezel. So it's important and interesting, in my opinion. And then it's left-hand drive, which is different. But here's what makes it weird. What makes it weird is they moved the date bubble. They moved the Cyclops to the other side. They flipped that over. They didn't need to do that. They could have left everything in place and just made it left-hand drive, kind of like the Tudor Pelagos left-hand drive. I mean, you notice that it's different because the crown's on the other side, but otherwise it's, virtually the same watch. But when you look at the Rolex Sprite, something looks wrong with it, something looks wrong with it. So, basically what I'm saying, guys, is that particular watch is an oddball, and I love a Rolex oddity. We have a super chat. Sure enough, pledging $4.99 to assist the Rebel Alliance. Remember, every time you send a super chat, a Minotaur loses his horn, and it's not about the money, it's about the revenge. Please provide precise ingredients and measurements for a Minotaur on the rocks. Okay, so what you want is 2 ounces of gin. You want 1 ounce of Cointreau. You want to fill the rest of your glass with a flavored seltzer water, flavored sparkling water. This is berry. Then you want to squeeze an orange slice, gently stir so as not to lose carbonation. And there you have a Minotaur. It's a little bit bitter. Tastes a little bit of herbs like grass, because that's what Minotaurs eat. And if you drink too many of them, you're going to get gored. So that's it. Thank you so much for showing up. And we have another super chat. Thoughts on the 2022 two-tone GMT root beer. So I love that watch. And every time I see it on Instagram or on anytime I see it anywhere, I have this moment where I'm thinking, crap, maybe I should have told my AD to get me that one instead. And with another AD that doesn't have a wait list, have a wish list, I put that on my wish list. But I am not going to hold my breath. I feel like my only real relationship, some ADs will sell you just because they have to show sales to normal customers. But the AD that I mostly trade with, I have a good buying relationship with them. So, and it's one at a time, and I ask for hard stuff, and nothing is easy anymore, but there's hard and then there's extra hard, and I ask for extra hard. So, and they've been very, very good about helping me with that. It just takes time. So you have to be patient. But what do I think about that watch? Damn. And I'm not like a super big into two-tones, but there are a couple of two-tone watches that I think are absolutely fantastic. And that's the best one. That's the best two-tone watch made. In pure gold, it's like amazing, but the price goes like, incredibly stupid. So I love that watch. And it's ever rose gold. So it's not yellow gold. In fact, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the root beer, the CHNR, isn't that the only two-tone in Everose? Am I wrong? Am I right? I think I'm right. And that Everose gold, that pink gold, in combination with that, the root beer, the brown part of the bezel, it's like a rich mahogany, chocolate, deep coffee hue. It's magnificent. It's honestly, it's probably a more wearable watch than the Sprite. It's just that the Sprite, I feel like the Sprite is going to fly away. It's going to float away. I think the CHNR will be in production for a good long while. I think the Sprite will not be with us long. I don't think the Sprite is long for this world. I believe it will be discontinued before we know it. I hope I get one before that happens. Mark, did you ever want a Milgauss? It's the other Rolex oddball. It is. And no, I didn't. I don't. I won't. Don't get me wrong. I have respectos, fistos, for what the Millie is. I do have. But it's like a dinosaur. It's worse than a Minotaur. It's like a dinosaur. And why do I say that? Because the whole point of the Milgauss was it gave you magnetic resistance by building a Faraday cage inside the watch, which makes it thicker and heavier. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like in 1967, that was like incredible technology. That iron cage housing the movement protected the movement from magnetic forces that you would find in like a laboratory where it was intended to be used. But we don't use magnetic susceptible. We don't use hairsprings that are susceptible to magnetism anymore. Guys, a hairspring is a wound up spring about as thin as a human hair. You can see it in a watch with a display back. It's going like that. It's going woo, 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 woo. And what happens is if they get magnetized by exposure to magnetism, when magnetism is in everything, it's in your iPhone case. It's in the case for your ear pods. It's on your refrigerator, your speakers, your iPad case. I mean, it's on everything. So your watches are constantly exposed to magnetism. Guy, go through an airport. Whee! Lots of magnetism there in all those machines that check you out. Okay, so what happens is with a steel hairspring that gets magnetized, it starts sticking to itself, which makes it shorter. So it begins to beat faster, which makes the watch run crazy fast. Which, by the way, you can just demagnetize it now with a $10 demagnetizer. It takes like 10 seconds. $10 demagnetizer. Check, you can buy them on eBay. $10, $12, on Amazon.com. Just watch demagnetizer. So the Faraday cage, it's cool engineering, but it's no longer necessary. And that's because the Rolex now makes the parachrome hairspring, which is like not made out of steel at all. It's made out of some combination of silicone and niobium. So it's not magnetic. You could the modern Rolex will be very hard to damage by magnetism. So the coolest thing about the Millie though is the green tinted glass, and I love that. I do like the seconds hand that looks like a lightning bolt. Amit Ashok is on the Rolex green bezel list also. Cermet, Sprite, GMT. Mighty said they'll get one by the end of the year. Well, then you and I are in a race. Let's see who gets it first. Good luck. Good luck to you. It's a beautiful watch. Dr. TikTok, hi from Florida. Well, I said it's a beautiful watch. What I really meant is it's a wild, weird, woolly watch. And then that has its own appeal to me. So I find that super interesting. Super chat. Remember, every time you super chat, a Minotaur loses a horn. It's not about the money. It's about the revenge. You are listening to Mark Goldberg here on Mark Vlogs Watches. Rebelstream number, what are we on? I think we are on number 8. Nick, loving the Revenge Marathon. Currently have a Black Bay 48 blue and a 41 millimeter sub. No date. What would you add as a third? Stick to the theme or diversify? I mean, if you're like me, Nicholas, you're a dive watch guy, and it sounds like you're a dive watch guy. I would stick with the theme of dive watches. It's the most robust, sportiest. You know, I have some watches that are not divers, but by far I have more divers than anything else. Quick fist watch check. It's the Seamaster Omega. This is a phenomenal watch, and it comes in multiple. It comes in multiple dial colors. You can get this black one, laser cut. I mean, you're not going to appreciate it on this, you know, crappy camera that's built into my my Mac. Okay, but trust me, the dials on these things are insane. They're actually nicer than the average Rolex dial for real. Fit and finish is like close, but not quite. But then again, the price is like half, and availability is much better. Anyway, this watch, it's available in black. It's available in white, which is really cream colored, off-white, which I love. I have them both. It's available in chrome. Avoid. It'll start looking like shag carpet. It'll look old to you before long. It's not easy on the eyes, but it's also available in blue, dark blue, which lights up when the sun hits it. So, and well, they're around $5,000, and you can actually buy one, which is half the price of a Rolex that you almost can't buy. So it's great. I love these. I'm really enjoying this. Oh, and it has a beautiful display back and a clasp that's adjustable on the fly. It's very, very hard to say anything bad about the current iteration of the Omega Seamaster, especially for the money. The green screen, which looks blurry, well, that's my boy Jupiter. You know, I've explained this a few times, but that's my kitty cat Jupiter, and he was mean and nasty and vicious and vinyl, and so is this live stream, because we're commemorating the day I got thrown off of Archie's show. And in revenge, I am live streaming 100 times here with you people. So the whole point of this is my kitty. That's all. You know, two-tone watches, in general, I don't like them unless they're Rolex, in which case, more than being two-tone, they're Rolex. We just finished talking about the CHNR, the root beer, two-tone and Everose gold. Try and get one. Ew, it's hard to get. I love that watch. It's beautiful. I had a two-tone Sky Dweller, and like a fool, I sold it, and I'll have to pay a great fortune more, even in this downturn, to get it back. Rolex doesn't make any bad watches. That's what I think. So if it's a Rolex, it's going to be fine. I've expressed an interest in a 36 millimeter Explorer, but ever since I got my Speedy, I realized I'm not ready for a three-hander. Now I want a no-date sub. Wish me luck. Well, no-date sub's a three-hander. I don't get it. I realized something. I'm not ready for a three-hander. Now I want a no-date sub. I'm not tracking with the program here. No-date sub's a three-hander. You know, I don't understand. But yeah, I can't. I'm not tracking with the program. Sorry, buddy. Like Marcus said, watches are the G.I. Joe Barbie for grown men. I fiddle with them too much to want a three-hander. Well, you want a sub, it's a three-hander, unless it's a no-date sub. If you get it with a date, well, then it's three-hander with a date. But, you know, JL, here's where I'm with you. It is something that you want to play with and fiddle with. And that's why I don't love straps. I really like bracelets because I could take it off in one smooth movement. I can play with it. I can play with my fidget spinner, my bezel. I can rattle it. I can feel it. I can play with it. And then I can, in one smooth movement, put it right back on. So, whereas with taking a strap on and off, you risk dropping the watch. Yeesh. So, yeah. How do you feel about the Cartier Santos? I love the medium size as a dressier piece. I do too. I love that. My friend and your friend, Hisham Habib, just bought one. In the medium size. You know, when you get into the large and the extra large, they get freaking big. Square watches wear much larger than what round watches do with equivalent measurements. So I kind of want one, to be honest with you, but on metal, meaning on a bracelet. And the only thing is it doesn't have a date, so it's just a 3-hander, and I'm kind of like a little torn, but I love the look of that watch. I really do. I mean, honestly, the serious collector seems to like the tank better than the Santos, but the tank is narrower. The Santos is squarer and therefore has more wrist presence, and I like it better. And not only that, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to tell you, I feel like Rolex is the single most famous brand of watches. And, we talk a lot about high horology, well, I don't, because I don't care about it. I really care about a whole variety of things, but the hoity-toityness of the movement isn't so much one of them. I want robustness. I want value retention. I want snob appeal. And honestly, you're going to get that out of a Cartier. Cartier, I will say, is the second most famous brand of watches. You go talk to the general public. Have you heard of Rolex? Ooh. Have you heard of Cartier? Ah. Have you heard of Vacheron et Constantin? What? Have you heard of Audemars Piguet? Huh? Have you heard of Patek Philippe? What are you talking about? Have you heard about Jaeger-LeCoultre? Stop it. Leave me alone. I mean, nobody ever heard of those brands. FP Jean. Don't get me wrong. I understand that the collector's collector, knows about that. If you're Bill Sanders, you probably don't remember where you live anymore, okay? But you probably remember those names. But a normal person, no. Look Bill Sanders up on ratemyprofessor.com. It's very funny. Take my word for that. The Yachtmaster 40 comes in two-tone Everose as well, the chocolate dial. Okay, cool. Good to know. Today I almost bought I forgot. You're right. The Seamaster came out now in green. They just came out in the green. You almost bought it. We'll see if it, we'll see how well it does. I haven't seen it in the flesh yet. I do want to see it. I should probably go to, I have an AD near me who sells them. The one mild disappointment from what I can tell about it is, I think they really should have just copied the Hulk green, or as come close to it as they could without getting sued, because I'm sure it's a proprietary color mix. But what they've done is what it looks like they've done is, looks like they've gone significantly darker. So much like the Omega Blue, if you get it out of direct sunlight, it almost looks black, and so does the green. And I personally want it to pop a little bit more. So I feel like it's a little bit more conservative than what I would want. The fidget spinner is what I call the bezel on a dive watch, and it's the whole point of having one is you can play with it. It's kind of like, wandering around with a bubble wrap on your wrist at all times. Mal Law, how would you describe a Cockapoo breed? Well, I mean, obviously it's a Cocker Spaniel mixed with Poodle. So listen, they can be great little dogs, clever and affectionate. But I will tell you, when I see them in my practice here, if I see them in my practice here, there are a reasonable number of them. It's not all of them, but there's a reasonable number of them are aggressive resource guarders, meaning the dog's got something, you want it back, you're going to get bit if you try and take it back. So seems like, my practice obviously going to be pre-selected for the naughtier dogs. So what I know is within the Cockapoo, I like them, but sometimes I get Cockapoos that are biters. Scenario, Rolex. I bought from an unknown person, no papers, no history, can't be returned. If the watch goes for the RSC, comes out clean, does that mean it's non-stolen? Can I sell it in piece? Yeah, you could sell it in piece now, unless you have, real reason to believe that it's, stolen. Like all you got to do, buddy, is like get its serial number, look up its serial number. If it's a modern one, it's on the rehat, engraved in the rehat. If it's an older one, then it won't be there. It won't say Rolex, Rolex, Rolex around the rehat, nor at the bottom will it have the serial number engraved. But what that means is the serial number will be stamped or engraved into between the lugs under the bracelet. So you remove the bracelet. Anyway, what I'm saying is just Google the serial number. And here's why I say that. It's not that there's some central registry for stolen watches and Rolex, and by the way, there should be, but I'm pretty sure there's not. But there are various forums and places where dudes do report that kind of stuff if their watch was stolen. So just see if it comes up. But I don't think sending it to the RSC, what if it wasn't reported stolen to the RSC? So Rolex doesn't maintain a registry of that kind of thing. So I feel like your question is a little bit misguided. It just reflects you thinking logically about Rolex. Like if it was stolen, Rolex would know. That's logical, but it's not true. So, however, if you bought a naked Rolex, the whole point of sending it to the Rolex service center would be to get it serviced and authenticated. They'll do that all at once and get service papers on it. So they'll send it back to you with service papers, which is the next best thing to having papers. Then you could buy a period correct box for it on eBay for probably $200. Now you have a watch that's not naked. It's recently serviced, AKA authenticated by a Rolex, not some random watchmaker, by Rolex, has service papers. That's not papers, but it's box and service papers. That's pretty damn good. Recon, you said you don't like stress. Would you wear an Oyster Flex? Yeah, but yes, yeah, I would. But I would probably not like it quite as much as metal, although it looks cool on the watches that they put it on, especially yours, the one that you're bastard, that beautiful Paul Newman Daytona that you're showing as your avatar. But I of course would want it, and I think it's the only way they do it with the deploying clasp. So I think it would work for me. And yeah, the Oyster Flex, it's a bracelet. Well, Rolex wants you to think that. It's rubber. Now, I know it's got those titanium inserts, so, is it a, I just feel like Rolex makes their own, they make all their own terminology. It's a rubber strap with, titanium inserts and a deployed clasp, but, it's Rolex. I think I'm going to like it. Resilient. Well, that's not hard to do. I came for the Rolex talk and stayed for the Bill Sanders jokes. I'm glad that you did. All right. Nick, diver with formal attire. It just depends on the following. Here's what it depends on. Do you own the business? I own the business. I go how I want to go. Nobody's going to tell me how to dress. So, I'm probably not going to wear my deep sea James Cameron that won't go under a cuff, but my fancy Seamaster, a Hulk, a gold Rolex, which says, move over, the boss is in the room. Sure. If you're middle management vying for vice president, probably you should wear the OP41 instead. I have one of those as well. That's just my opinion. Guys, we have been here for an hour. I want you to hit the like button before you leave. I want you to hit the notification bell so you'll know when I'm doing this again. I want to thank you for having joined me for Rebelstream 8. Archie could only kick me out once, but I could Rebelstream 100 times. And after I do, I might be so used to it that I just want to do it with you every single day for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for being with me. There's nobody I would rather have spent the past hour with than you. Hit that bell so you know when I'm going to do it again. It's probably going to be tomorrow. Stay tuned. Let's do it again. Remember, Rebelstream, fight Jabba, join the